everyone and welcome to the Young and the Restless channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Wednesday, April 1st, 2026. Today on the Young and the Restless, Danny makes Daniel and Tessa a proposal. Nick makes a large purchase and Riza lives her best life. At Crimson Lights, Daniel and Tessa compare notes on their mother and Mariah. The day begins with a quiet, almost fragile stillness, the kind that feels like it could shatter at any moment. And by the time the sun rises over Genoa City, emotions are already simmering just beneath the surface. Inside the warm, familiar glow of Crimson Lights, Daniel and Tessa sit across from one another. Their voices low but heavy with everything they've been carrying. They compare notes on the chaos surrounding their lives, speaking carefully as if each word might tip the balance of something fragile. Tessa admits how deeply it hurt to say goodbye to Mariah, not knowing when or if they'll find their way back to each other again. And the uncertainty lingers in her voice like an echo that refuses to fade. Daniel, in turn, exhales the exhaustion of dealing with Phyllis, his tone carrying both love and frustration in equal measure, as though he's been running an emotional marathon with no finish line in sight. The air grows thick with unspoken tension, and eventually he breaks the moment, suggesting they escape the weight of it all, even if only briefly. Without another word, Daniel reaches for a guitar, and suddenly the heaviness gives way to something softer, something alive. Their voices rise together, tentative at first, then growing stronger, weaving a melody that feels like both an escape and a confession. It's in that quiet, intimate performance that Danny Romalotti slips in unnoticed, lingering just out of sight, watching with a mixture of pride and emotion that catches in his throat. When the final note fades, he steps forward, applauding with genuine warmth, his eyes glistening as he takes in what he's just witnessed. Overcome, he tells them how proud he is, his voice thick with feeling, and then, almost as if it's been waiting on his heart for years, he makes them an offer to produce their album. The moment hangs in the air, electric and full of possibility, before Danny takes it one step further, inviting them to join him in Barcelona for his upcoming concert, opening a door neither of them expected to walk through today. Daniel hesitates, the weight of the decision flickering across his face as he glances toward Tessa, silently asking for reassurance. She shrugs lightly, pointing out that the nanny could stay with Arya, her tone encouraging, hopeful, nudging him towards something bigger than his fears. She urges him to say yes, to take the leap, and after a beat, he does, agreeing to travel, though uncertainty still lingers about stepping into his father's spotlight. Danny, sensing that hesitation, promises there will be no pressure, no expectations, just an opportunity to share something meaningful together. Tessa can barely contain her excitement, her face lighting up as she admits that even talking about getting away makes her shoulders finally relax, as if the idea itself is already lifting a burden she's carried for too long. For a moment, hope feels tangible, like something they can actually hold on to, and it transforms the atmosphere around them into something brighter, something alive with possibility. But across town, that fragile hope finds a stark contrast in the quiet ache of the park, where Sharon Newman sits alone, her world unraveling in silence. She speaks softly into her phone, telling Faith that Mariah isn't ready for video calls yet, each word carefully measured, as if she's trying to protect her daughter from the truth. When the call ends, the composure she's been holding on to slips away, and she sinks onto a bench, tears falling freely as the weight of everything crashes down on her. It's in this vulnerable moment that Phyllis Summers appears, her presence as sharp and undeniable as ever, immediately sensing that something is wrong. Sharon insists she's fine, brushing it off with practiced deflection. But there's a quiet gratitude in her voice when she thanks Phyllis for caring, a fleeting moment of connection that almost feels like peace. That peace doesn't last. It rarely does between them. The conversation quickly ignites into something more volatile, circling back to Phyllis's actions involving Victor, and the tension between them flares like a spark hitting dry tinder. Phyllis scoffs, dismissing the comparison, claiming she's an angel compared to him. But Sharon sees through the bravado, cutting straight to the truth that everything Phyllis does is rooted in her love for her children. The question lands hard. How could she risk hurting someone like this? And Phyllis snaps, fiercely protective, refusing to let anyone question her devotion. Sharon presses on, warning that Victor built Newman to protect his family, not to be torn apart, and challenges Phyllis to consider what she's truly risking. Is any of this worth losing the trust and support of her children? The question lingers, heavy and unavoidable. As the conversation deepens, Sharon slips into a more reflective, almost therapeutic tone, guiding Phyllis through the reasoning behind her choices. Phyllis admits she refuses to align herself with men who would control or trap her, and Sharon begins to see the deeper truth beneath it all. That this fear, this need for independence, traces back to something darker, something unresolved. The name Martin surfaces like a shadow creeping into the light, and suddenly everything feels more connected, more complicated. Phyllis reminds Sharon that it's been a year since they were both left to die in that cell, her voice tightening as she recalls the trauma, and she doesn't hold back when she points out that Sharon never reached out afterward. Sharon apologizes, the guilt evident, but their perspectives clash as Phyllis rejects the idea that they've truly won, arguing that danger still surrounds them and that their lives are far from stable. Sharon insists they are free, that Martin is the one behind bars now. But Phyllis can't shake the lingering weight of what they endured, the feeling still lodged deep in her chest. Sharon urges her to stay back, to trust the people who genuinely want what's best for her, asking the question that cuts through everything else. What does she really want from the path she's chosen? Phyllis doesn't hesitate. Her answer is simple, powerful, and revealing. She wants it all. And in those three words lies both her strength and her greatest vulnerability. Meanwhile, far from Genoa City, the neon glow of Las Vegas pulses with energy, where risk and reward dance dangerously close together. Inside a sleek poker room, Riza is fully in control, commanding the space with effortless confidence until Matt Clark arrives unannounced and plants an unexpected kiss on her. She didn't anticipate seeing him tonight, and while he seems eager to watch her in action, she coolly reminds him that her clients value their privacy. The tension between them sharpens when he questions their partnership, but Riza doesn't waver, standing her ground with quiet authority. When he pushes further, she suggests he join the game instead, shifting the dynamic back in her favor with a subtle but unmistakable edge. Elsewhere, in a luxurious suite, Adam Newman calmly walks Nick through the intricacies of poker, his demeanor controlled and methodical, a stark contrast to Nick Newman, who grows increasingly restless with every passing moment. Nick's frustration bubbles beneath the surface as he fixates on getting closer to Matt Clark, his impatience threatening to derail everything. Adam urges him to stay focused, to play the long game, but it's clear that Nick is struggling to keep it together. When pressed, Nick insists he's fine, blaming his irritation on the slow pace, but the tension in his body tells a different story. Eventually, he pushes Adam to go back and impress Riza, as if channeling his energy into action is the only way to quiet the storm inside him. Back in the poker room, Matt grows suspicious, sensing that Riza may be keeping him at a distance for a reason, especially with the mention of a certain friend returning to town. Riza teases the possibility, hinting that if this player still has the skills, they could all benefit. But Matt's curiosity turns into a demand to meet him. Before that can happen, a text pulls him away, something urgent enough to steal his attention, and despite his reluctance, he leaves after a lingering kiss. Almost as if on cue, Adam arrives with other players, and the game begins in earnest, the stakes rising with every hand. With precision and confidence, Adam dominates the table, pulling in chips as if it's second nature, and Riza watches with a satisfied smile, welcoming him back with a name that carries history, Spider. As the room empties and the tension settles into something more intimate, Adam teases Riza about doubting him, pointing out how much they've just gained. Now that he's proven himself, he presses her for their next move, eager to push forward. But Riza reveals that things have changed. She has a partner now, someone who shares control, and for the first time, Adam isn't the one holding all the cards. He presses for a name, for answers, but she refuses, keeping her secrets close, reminding him that she never wanted a partner before. The question lingers, what changed? And the answer remains just out of reach, adding another layer of intrigue to an already dangerous game. Back in the suite, Nick's plan takes a darker turn as he welcomes in a dealer connected to the underworld, his demeanor shifting into something colder, more calculated. He asks for enough pills for several people, and the dealer obliges, even throwing in something extra as a bonus, a gesture that feels more ominous than generous. Nick seizes the opportunity to ask about Mitch Bacall, but the dealer comes up empty, leaving Nick with more questions than answers. When the man leaves, the room feels suffocatingly quiet, and Nick paces by the window, his jaw tight, his mind racing, the weight of everything pressing down on him as the city lights flicker outside. Back in Genoa City, the earlier warmth at Crimson Lights softens into something more uncertain as Danny steps away to call his tour manager, leaving Daniel and Tessa alone with the reality of what they've just agreed to. Daniel checks in, making sure she's truly ready for this, and she reassures him, though there's a flicker of concern that she may have pushed him too far. He brushes it off, insisting there are no expectations, no commitments, framing it as something casual, something safe. But the words land differently than he intends. Tessa pauses, slightly taken aback, repeating softly that they're just friends, the phrase hanging between them with a quiet tension that wasn't there before. At the park, Phyllis circles back to her truth, admitting she wants everything she dreamed of while they were trapped in that cell, her voice filled with determination and defiance. Sharon gently reminds her that success often comes with a cost, but Phyllis pushes back, pointing out that the Newmans have each other while she stands alone. Sharon argues that the anger directed at her comes from a place of care, that people are hurt because they love her. But Phyllis can't accept it, convinced that unconditional love is reserved for everyone else. In a rare moment of vulnerability, she thanks Sharon, acknowledging that she may be the only person left she can talk to. But even that connection feels fleeting, because as she walks away, she comes to a quiet, painful realization. She's on her own. And as the night deepens in Las Vegas, the threads of ambition, danger, and desire continue to intertwine. In the poker room, Adam questions whether Riza's mysterious partner is meant to replace him, but she dismisses the idea, explaining it's simply a different skill set, leaving the door open but uncertain. They discuss arranging a meeting, though she makes it clear that she'll decide when the time is right, maintaining control of the game. For now, she redirects his focus back to her, closing the distance between them with a kiss that is equal parts strategy and temptation. And in that moment, as alliances shift and secrets deepen, it becomes clear that every move being made, whether in love, power, or survival, is part of a much larger game, one where the stakes are only just beginning to rise. The night stretches on, and as it does, every choice made throughout the day begins to echo louder, threading together lives that feel worlds apart yet are bound by the same quiet tension. In Genoa City, the soft glow of crimson lights fades into the background as Daniel and Tessa sit with what remains unsaid between them. The earlier excitement now tempered by something more delicate and uncertain. The promise of Barcelona still lingers in the air, shimmering with possibility. But beneath it lies a subtle shift neither of them can ignore. Tessa replays Daniel's words in her mind. No expectations, no commitment. And while they were meant to reassure, they instead create a quiet distance, as though something meaningful has been gently pushed out of reach. Daniel, sensing the change but unsure how to fix it, tries to keep things light. Yet, there's a flicker of doubt behind his eyes, a question he hasn't quite found the courage to ask. For all the hope the opportunity brings, it also forces them to confront where they truly stand, and whether this journey will bring them closer together or quietly pull them apart. Not far away, the emotional storm at the park refuses to settle, even as the world around it grows still. Phyllis Summers walks away from Sharon Newman with a sense of finality that feels heavier with every step, her mind racing with everything she's said and everything she's chosen not to. The vulnerability she allowed herself to show lingers like an open wound, and for someone who has spent so long building walls, the exposure feels dangerous. Sharon remains behind on the bench, watching her go, her expression caught between concern and resignation, knowing that some battles can't be fought for someone else. The quiet between them now carries more weight than their argument ever did, filled with truths that neither woman can fully escape. And yet, beneath the conflict, there's an undeniable thread of understanding, a shared history that refuses to be erased, no matter how far apart they drift. It's the kind of connection that survives even the harshest words, lingering in the silence long after everything else fades. Across the country, the pulse of Las Vegas grows stronger as the night deepens, its neon lights reflecting the high-stakes games unfolding behind closed doors. In the suite, Nick Newman stands by the window, staring out at the city as if searching for answers in the endless glow. The pills, now in his possession, feel heavier than they should. Not just objects, but symbols of how far he's willing to go to achieve his goal. His jaw tightens as he replays every step of the plan, every risk, every unknown variable, and it becomes clear that this isn't just about strategy anymore. It's personal. The frustration that's been simmering all night threatens to boil over, but instead he holds it in, letting it harden into something colder, something more dangerous. In that quiet moment, there's a sense that Nick is standing at a crossroads, and whichever path he chooses next will change more than just the game he's playing. Meanwhile, back in the poker room, the atmosphere has shifted into something more intimate, more unpredictable, as Adam Newman and Riza circle each other with a mix of curiosity and caution. The thrill of the game still lingers, but now it's replaced by questions that carry far greater stakes. Adam's mind works quickly, trying to piece together the puzzle of Riza's new partner, analyzing every word she said and everything she hasn't. Riza, for her part, remains composed, her confidence unshaken, revealing only what she chooses and nothing more, maintaining control in a way that feels both effortless and calculated. When she kisses him again, it's not just a moment of connection, but a subtle assertion of power, a reminder that in this game, emotions can be just as strategic as any move at the table. And as they pull apart, there's an unspoken understanding that whatever comes next will require trust. But trust, in a world like this, is the most dangerous gamble of all. Somewhere between ambition and uncertainty, the lines between personal and professional begin to blur, weaving together choices that refuse to stay contained. Back at Crimson Lights, Danny returns, his energy still bright, still hopeful, already envisioning what this new chapter could become. Danny Romalotti carries with him the kind of optimism that can light a path forward, even when the way ahead feels unclear. And he wastes no time diving into plans, eager to bring Daniel and Tessa into his world. Yet, beneath that excitement lies a quiet pressure, not from him, but from the opportunity itself, a chance that feels too big to ignore and too uncertain to fully embrace. Daniel listens, trying to balance his father's enthusiasm with his own hesitations, while Tessa watches, caught between her excitement and the subtle tension she can't quite shake. It's a moment filled with possibility, but also with questions, each one waiting for an answer that hasn't yet arrived. And as the night finally begins to settle, each character finds themselves alone with their thoughts, the echoes of the day refusing to quiet. Sharon sits in the dark, holding on to hope even as it feels like it's slipping through her fingers, while Phyllis moves forward with determination, even if it means walking that path alone. In Las Vegas, Nick steels himself for what comes next, his resolve hardening into something unyielding, while Adam and Riza continue their delicate dance of power and intrigue, each step bringing them closer to something neither fully understands yet. And somewhere in between it all, Daniel and Tessa stand on the edge of something new, caught between the safety of what they know and the uncertainty of what lies ahead. Because in the end, every choice made tonight is only the beginning. And the real story, the one filled with consequences, revelations, and undeniable truths, is just starting to unfold. As the final hours of the night drift towards something quieter, something almost reflective, the weight of every decision begins to settle in ways no one can ignore. In Genoa City, the once busy hum of crimson lights has faded into a low murmur, the kind that feels distant compared to the thoughts swirling inside Daniel and Tessa's minds. They sit together, yet there's a subtle emotional distance between them now, not born from conflict, but from uncertainty that neither of them knows how to name. The idea of Barcelona still glows with promise, a chance to escape, to create, to rediscover something meaningful, but it also threatens to expose everything they've been carefully avoiding. Daniel tries to reassure himself that keeping things simple is the right choice, that removing expectations will protect them both, but deep down, even he can feel the hollowness in that logic. Tessa, meanwhile, carries her own quiet conflict, torn between the excitement of what could be and the lingering ache of what she's already lost. And as their conversation softens into silence, it becomes clear that this journey will test more than just their talent, it will test their hearts. Across town, the emotional aftermath of the park confrontation continues to ripple outward, leaving both women changed in ways they may not yet fully understand. Sharon Newman remains seated long after Phyllis Summers has disappeared from view, her thoughts circling the same painful truths over and over again. There's a heaviness in her chest, a mixture of guilt, fear, and an overwhelming desire to fix what feels broken beyond repair. She replays the conversation, wondering if she said too much or not enough, questioning whether she reached Phyllis at all or if her words simply bounced off walls that have been built too high for too long. At the same time, Phyllis walks through the night with a different kind of energy, one fueled by defiance and determination, her mind already shifting toward what comes next. There's a loneliness in her steps, though she refuses to acknowledge it, choosing instead to focus on the power she believes she can reclaim, the control she refuses to surrender. Yet, beneath that fierce resolve lies something far more fragile, a quiet fear that if she stops moving forward, even for a moment, everything she's holding together will begin to fall apart. In Las Vegas, the contrast couldn't be sharper, as the city's relentless energy mirrors the high-stakes tension unfolding behind closed doors. Inside the suite, Nick Newman finally pulls himself away from the window, the reflection of neon lights fading from his eyes as he turns back into the room. The pills sit where he left them, a silent reminder of the line he's already crossed. And as he stares at them, there's a moment, brief but undeniable, where doubt flickers across his face. But it doesn't last. Whatever hesitation he feels is quickly buried beneath the weight of his mission, his need to see this through no matter the cost. He moves with purpose now, every action deliberate, as if committing fully is the only way to quiet the conflict inside him. And in that shift, something changes, something hardens, marking a point of no return that even he may not fully recognize yet. Back in the poker room, the game may be over, but the real tension is only beginning to surface. Adam Newman watches Riza carefully, his instincts telling him there's far more beneath the surface than she's willing to reveal. Their conversation lingers in the air, filled with half answers and guarded truths, each of them probing the other without ever fully showing their hand. Riza remains as composed as ever, her control unwavering, yet there's a subtle shift in her energy, a recognition that Adam is not someone easily kept at a distance. When he questions her again about the mysterious partner, it's not just curiosity, it's strategy, an attempt to understand the board before making his next move. But Riza doesn't give in, holding on to her secrets with quiet confidence, reminding him that timing is everything and that when the moment comes, she'll decide how much he gets to know. Their connection, charged and complicated, lingers between them, blurring the line between alliance and rivalry in a way that feels both dangerous and inevitable.